evening to you all out there, and welcome into another episode of the Barking Browns Shows. I'm Jacob, Mr. Casey Kinnaman, and Nick Carnes down below. Brought to you as always by our friends over at SeatGeek, who just paid us the other day. So thanks, SeatGeek.
Thank you.
And you people for using our promo code. So if you getting your season tickets, any tickets for any games you're going to, or any shows, I just got tickets for a show to see Joe Gatto when he comes to Ohio University in November. I saw Murr at Ohio University last year. Now Joe Gatto will be here this year. But go get your tickets over at SeatGeek. Use our promo code Barking Browns. Get $20 off your first purchase. If you're not on YouTube, we would really appreciate if you went to the youtube.com/@thebarkingbrowns and just sub to it. Give us a thumbs up and hit that bell. We appreciate all of you. Got some new subs. We're going into the season, so we're really excited about that. Gentlemen, how are we?
I was dragging ass till I seen your boys' faces on the screen here, and I'm coming alive. And 5 more sleeps, gentlemen.
It doesn't feel real.
No, it doesn't. I love your countdown timer, Casey. It makes me really happy. And I just want to say, Jacob, to your comment about the subs, just a reminder, we're giving away a Browns jersey at 1,000 subs. We're less than 80 away. So you'll be entered. You'll be one of 1,000. That's not too bad of odds. And it's just a little way. We've got a lot of ways that we're planning on giving back to you also. If you click that subscribe button, we will love you. But on a personal note, there's been a trend recently of turning shows into animes. They did one with Suicide Squad. They did one with Rick and Morty. And now the most recent one I found on Netflix is a Terminator.
Listen, I watched like the first 2.
Oh my God.
Phenomenal.
I finished it last night. It's 8 episodes. If you like Terminator, holy shit. It's amazing. Highly recommend.
This is what I'll say about anybody who likes Terminator that's considered watching this show. Just give it the first opening scene, the first 5 minutes. That's all you'll need. Because it is, it really it waits to set the story up. It gives you some action right out the gate for like the first 5 or 6 minutes. It's just amazing. And then it starts setting things up. And there's still tons of action in the other. I think I've seen like 2 or 3 of the episodes now. And there's still more action after that. But like it really, it jumps right into it. That first couple minutes of that first episode, I was like, okay, yeah, all right. This is a show I'm going to watch.
We appreciate you being here, friend.
Appreciate you. So we're as Casey has pointed out, we're five more sleeps away. And I just said, it didn't seem possible. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy because we talk about and look ahead and think fondly of the season, and it's so far away, and then it always is just kind of here.
It'll be over before we know it.
Yeah. Because it'll be winter, and then it'll be snow, and it'll be Christmas, and then it'll be February, and then the Browns will finally stop playing, and then we'll do some stuff there. But no, we're gonna do our season preview episode. So we've got some prop bets for you guys later on. Some season prop bets we're gonna go through, kind of talk through kind of some of our predictions, record wise, some stats. We're gonna go through all of that stuff. I think I want to save like the records and the prop bets for the end, and we'll work our way through there on this way. And that is, I want to start at quarterback. I want to talk about Deshaun Watson and kind of move through that stuff first. So I'll start with you, Casey. Expectations, that prediction, just overall what you see playing out for Deshaun Watson in 2024.
I see 64% completion percentage. I see 3,800 yards. I see 29 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. That's what I see.
Really ready for that question.
I just on the spot. That's really what I feel, though. I feel like it won't be gaudy numbers, but you're going to win with that. You're going to win plenty of games with quarterback play, and for me, it's the touchdown to interception ratio. Mm-hmm. He's always been like our 62% guy completion percentage. That isn't out of left field. Like that's just who he is. So I think slightly up from that, but not much. I'm not asking for the world, but I'm asking. I want you to at least approach 3 touchdowns to every interception. If you do that, this team rolls.
and I'll go to you here in just a second, Nick, but I was writing something up for the OBR that'll be out later this week, and I put something along the lines of, if he can just be top 16, they'll win a lot of games.
Mm-hmm.
Like just top half, be better than half of the other starting quarterbacks, and that'll be just insanely better than what they had significantly better if he is top 16 than what they had last year when they won 11 games.
Okay, the question is, the top 16, you win a lot of games. What's he got to be top what to actually contend for the Super Bowl?
I mean, I guess it depends on where the rest of that, where the defense and the running game are. But I think you can win a Super Bowl top 16 if this roster plays the way it should play.
I agree.
With what I think the running game can be when Chubb gets back. I'm a little concerned about it, and we'll talk about that in a second. But if that running game can be good and that defense can be like they were, and he can get hot in the postseason, I think you can compete. But I would say he needs to probably push it closer to top 10.
My number's 8. To truly be a team that when it's for all the marbles, I think you need a guy in that upper quartile, which that's what 8 would be. And just for the record, his APY is 10 right now. When back in the day it was 1, and that contract, is more quarterbacks sign their deals. So if he were just to be top 10, you would say he's worth what he's being paid now, which is crazy because some people lose their mind when they hear that, but it's the reality of the situation.
We got a prediction: 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, 17 games played. I think that last prediction is the most important one.
Yes. If you get a whole year of Deshaun, I think that would be such a step forward towards the future, and especially if you are like, I see it. Those stats aren't overbearingly impressive, but like they don't need to be. We'd like them to be, right? But they don't need to be. And as far as I don't know that I have stats for you right off the top of my head, but I see a guy that is at a pivotal point in his career, and a guy that has a chance to settle back into an offense that he's more comfortable in. I've listened to Ken Dorsey talk. I've listened to Deshaun Watson talk. I've listened to their comments about how they're going to meld and mesh these two offensive philosophies and what they're going to do so to help make Deshaun more comfortable. His demeanor has been better this year, in my opinion. I've seen him look. His body language seems better. And I think I worry about the pressure because I get it. They just restructured his contract. Okay. And so this is year 3 of 5. And so technically he's getting that money no matter what, and it'll be on the roster no matter what. I totally understand that. But for all intents and purposes, I firmly believe that this is the make or break year for him, because the Browns have their first round pick back. And if things go really poorly, it would not at all surprise me to see them try to go in and find this transition plan, whether that's Winston or DTR or another answer or whatever. So to me, I look at a guy and I say, this is the pivotal point in your career. You're 28 years old, so there's more than enough time. If Deshaun takes a step forward this year, then all of a sudden you're saying, hey, maybe we can talk extension here. If you get a full season out of him, if you go deep into the playoffs, and we're going to talk about our predictions and just how far or whatever. But I think if you can reliable at the end of this year, if you can say that Deshaun Watson can reliably be your starter and a guy that you can win with, I think that this season largely is a win. And I think that they've done everything that they can to shape the offense to get him to where he can be successful. So, see. Well, I'm nervous. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm nervous, but I don't just believe that all that ability's gone. I don't. And so they've done everything that they can. They didn't, square peg, round hole, whatever you want to say. They've done everything they can to say, okay, we're going to make this work. So the results of that are going to be really interesting to see.
I want to revise my answer.
Okay.
I think he has to be top 16 overall, but I would say he would have to be at top 10 level by the time the postseason starts. That's what I think he needs to be. Like, if the first half of the year you're like, he was middle of the pack, but by the time we got to the postseason, he was like a top 10 guy. That's what I think they need to compete, because I think they can win plenty of games, especially in the first half of the year, with a pseudo average guy back there, so to speak. But yeah, you got to kind of have a difference maker in the playoffs, unless you've got the 2000s Ravens defense. And I could see the Browns doing that, but until we see it, I'm not going to call them historic until I can see it.
And I'm not trying to bash what the 2000 Ravens did, but they didn't have to deal with Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Also very, very true.
Like, they were great, but like it's such a different era, because you have, and just in the AFC is a gauntlet of quarterbacks.
Well, I was going to say
ahead of that, it's always going to be Mahomes.
I was going to say add Josh Allen, add Joe Burrow, like add Lamar Jackson. Even I know Lamar kind of struggles in the playoffs, but like those are different cats. And you got to deal with potentially all of them.
I just want to add, we have watched for decades the Browns do their quarterbacks no favors whatsoever. Just throw them to the wolves, never put them in positions to succeed. I can still think about Deshaun Kaiser being benched and unbenched a million different times, or bringing back Hugh Jackson and throwing Baker Mayfield out there with whatever that nonsense was, right? And
Eric
truly
Kush was his right guard over Wyatt Teller.
Just truly, you couldn't get Nick Chubb on the field. Carlos Hyde was playing over him. No disrespect to Carlos Hyde. But I think the defining difference of this Browns team with Deshaun Watson is that they've done everything they can. You got the reigning coach of the year, the defensive player of the year, the assistant coach of the year, all these weapons, and they're doing everything they can on the offensive line. I get it. It's not perfect, but it is as conducive to helping your quarterback be successful as any situation the Browns have put any quarterback in since 1999.
I think that's fair and accurate. I think that's very fair and accurate. Serge says he's nervous but not scared. Nick planted his flag today, and
I did indeed.
Plant that, sir.
Yeah, I was not very social media heavy today, but I did see that.
I appreciate that.
I did see that.
We'll talk about it.
I have him somewhere around 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. That's kind of where I think he starts. I think he's better in the back half. I think it's going to be clunky on Sunday. I think it's going to be clunky for a few weeks. If they can find a way to beat Dallas, they can really afford to be a little bit clunky after that offensively, because I think defensively they can handle most of what they've got for at least a month or so. You got Trevor Lawrence in that offense, I know, in there, but that's probably the best offense you face after Dallas for a while. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, we get to Philly.
So you get to Philly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you get a little bit of time for the offense to kind of catch its groove, which really sucks, as I prefer Dallas to be like week 6 and you could just have those other opponents first and then go through it. But I don't know. I think you've got a shot for the offense to be able to afford to be slow and clunky at first, I think. And a lot of that's based on how good I think the defense is immediately.
I've seen a ton. Like, I understand Dallas was a great offense last year. I get it. CeeDee Lamb is incredible, and Dak was damn good, and Jake Ferguson is too. But I just look at Dallas's offense top to bottom, and they have a couple weapons, obviously, but I'm not afraid of the run game at all. And outside of CeeDee Lamb, I'm not sure there's a wide receiver that scares me.
We kind of talked about this before on air, and Casey brought this up. Just they're going to sling the ball a lot. Dak's in a contract prove it year, and I kind of think of Dallas a lot. It's not on the same level because we don't see them as often, but I kind of think of them a lot like Pittsburgh, where it's like I think they're going to be mediocre, and then they win 9 games or whatever.
Okay.
And I think Dak's really good. I'm that guy. I still think Dak is a very good quarterback. I think CeeDee Lamb's top 3, 4, somewhere in there as at wide receiver. And anytime you face a top 10 quarterback and a top 2 or 3 player at wide receiver, I think the Browns, like, I'm going to predict it later in the week that I think they win on Sunday. But I think that until I actually see them be bad, I'm not positive that I can predict that about Dallas.
Okay.
I just think there's some stuff that they've got enough pieces in the right area, and I think their defense is underrated. But
It's just going to be hard for them to look good in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Against that defense.
100%. And that's why
Same goes for the other side of the ball as well.
Right. Exactly. And that's why I'm predicting the Browns will win. But if you came from the future right now and told me they didn't, I'd be like, yeah.
I think it's an ugly game sprinkled with some big plays.
Okay. Yeah.
Who can make the most big plays? I don't see anyone having like continued success.
Yeah, you get a few 50+ yard touchdowns on broken plays and
big field goal at the end of half. Could be some momentum changing stuff like that. But I think it'll be a slog of a game sprinkled in with some excitement just because there'll be some big plays.
Yeah. Wait, you know what it might really come down to? That turnover battle. Mm-hmm. I think that this particular game comes down to that turnover battle. Yeah. But yeah, let's talk about the run game.
Hold on, before we do, I have to ask a question. One last question about the quarterback.
Okay.
Would you guys take your hearts out of it and just use your heads?
Okay.
If I set the over/under of games played for Deshaun Watson at 15, use your head. Do you think that he plays more than or less than?
So you're basically asking me, does he play a full season or not? Because theoretically you could play 16 and rest your guys on week 17. So
we've seen that.
We literally just saw it.
I'm gonna answer as Jacob is. I'm gonna say under, but I don't think it's significantly under. Like, I could see there being some type of bumps and bruises. Quarterbacks get injured more now, I feel, than they ever have. I'm not sure if that's an accurate stat, but certainly feels that way.
I think 63 different quarterbacks played last year that would back up those words.
Okay. Yeah, it definitely happened last year.
Right. So, like, I feel it could be like 14. I might feel like 15. You know what I'm saying? Like I would be more surprised if Deshaun played every game, but I don't think it's going to be a significant.
I think we'd feel pretty good if we said he only missed 2 games on the season.
I would feel pretty good.
Especially if one of those games ends up being week 17.
Right.
Yep, I agree.
So I'll take the pussy's way out and just say I agree 14 or 15.
Okay.
Somewhere
15 was a push.
Yeah, I think somewhere around there. And because the thing about it that's interesting is I realize that he hasn't played like a full year of football in about 4 years at this point. 2020 was the last time he played. He played all 16 games that year, I believe.
Yeah.
And I understand that wasn't an injury in 2022. It was the suspension. And then the injury, this injury this year that he has, I think he's fine, but it's so wildly unpredictable that like I could see it flare up or something. Like he takes a shot week 10 and he misses week 11 and 12 or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like just because it's such a weird injury for football that we don't completely know. So if I was like trying to straight up, which I think is the purpose of this exercise, if I was to straight up just be like, okay, what exactly, like, if I was being forced to put money on it, I would say 14 or 15. Is because I think there's a good chance something weird happens, or it could even be completely different. It could be like, hurts his ankle or something like that. Yeah. But I'm also leaning towards him playing a lot more games because he's not really had injury issues. People bring up the injury stuff, but he's not really had injury issues in his career. Like he tears the ACL as a rookie, and then he's really pretty much healthy until last year. Mm-hmm. But you add in the fact that he's played 12 games in 4 years, and that could make you believe that can he take 17 games worth of hits? So I think that's valid, but like Oh man, that's just it's so hard. That's the one thing that really makes these season predictions and stuff difficult with this team is it's just a weird situation around the quarterback. Like, and
the Browns will probably be more conservative with an injury situation because they have Jameis, because they have DTR, right? It's not like they got nobody behind them to where they're like, we can't win if Sean doesn't play.
Yeah, they hedged their bets. They were.
Oh yeah, they fully
fortified
were
that room.
They were like, let's have our Joe Flacco on the roster already.
Right.
Like, that's almost what it felt like when they did the Jameis move. They're like, let's have that guy that if Deshaun gets hurt in the middle of the season, the end of the season, whatever, let's have that guy that we know can run this offense and can win games. And we got told what they think, and that is they need to have better quarterback play this year from whoever it is. We got told that when they went out and spent on Jameis, who apparently just signed with Big Play.
Saw that.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere.
That was weird. I'm very interested to see it because Jameis is electric on a microphone.
Yeah, you can't have enough mics on that guy. So
there's a couple today. Actually, I was listening to 92.3 today. Rodney McLeod debuted. He's doing 1 hour with Ken and Anthony every Tuesday for the whole season.
That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that's real cool.
I like stuff like that. I really like stuff like that because I love the little peek behind the curtain and stuff. I love that.
And it kind of gives the players an early start on what their post career could be, and gives them more experience on a mic. And then, if a lot of guys transition to media, so for him to kind of get dip his toes in, it's good for him.
So many players are just so good at it, man.
Mm-hmm.
They're just so good at it. Let's talk about the run game. So let's look at the run game this year. I feel weird about this, and I was talking to Randy Gurzy about this because I'm working on so I'll be doing a couple of weekly articles every week for the OBR. On Thursday, I'll have a start 'em sit 'em fantasy for the Browns piece every week, and so I was trying to kind of figure out some of that stuff. I was doing some research for it, and I said something about the run game where we were talking about maybe Dallas's run defense isn't that great. Maybe Jerome Ford is a sneaky good play this week or something of that nature. I just feel so weird about the run game because of the preseason. And I realize we didn't see the offensive line like we saw. We didn't see Joel at all, did we? Did we see Joel at all? No, I didn't think so. We've seen Posick and we've seen Teller a little bit. And DeWand. But Joel was a little roller coaster last year, and we don't know who's your left tackle. And DeWand's not a great run blocker. Like he could be better this year, but from the last I've seen of him, he's not. He's just not he's not there yet as a run blocker. Maybe he will be. And so I feel really, really weird about this run game because I don't think it's going to be awful. I think it'll be significantly better than what we saw in the preseason. But I have so many questions on the left side of the offensive line. And Nick Chubb makes up for so much. And you don't have him for a month. I have a hard time putting my finger on what I think this run game is going to be. I think Jack Conklin at left tackle if that's what happens, makes the run game better on the left side, better than it was. But I don't know what Bitonio we're getting, and I think he's healthy. I think he's going to be healthy. He had some injuries last year, and I think that was part of the issue. I have a really hard time, and I'll start with you, Nick. I kind of talk about Jerome Ford and the run game as overall, Dante Foreman, all those kind of stuff. But I'm kind of in a weird place with it where I can't quite figure out what I think is going to happen.
It's weird because last year was the first year we really saw a Kevin Stefanski-led offense be so unable to run the ball. Like every other year, even when the Browns had Jacoby Brissett, even when now Nick Chubb deserves a ton of credit for all that he's done. Right, he has. So even when the pass game has struggled under the hurt Baker Mayfield, Jacoby Brissett, whatever, they were still able to run the ball. And so then last year, you've got this pass game that just comes alive and is leading the league in pass yards with Joe Flacco and pass yards per game, and they still can't run the ball. And I have a hard time believing that suddenly Kevin Stefanski can't organize rushing offense. I just think the injuries stacked up too heavily, especially on the offensive line. And then on top of that, when you've got, Joel Bitonio, who's been your consummate just excellence there, struggling as well. They lost too many guys on the offensive line, and I think that's what ultimately led to the collapse of the rushing attack. So now, that being said, you've got Jack Conklin coming back from all these injuries and moving over to the other side. Maybe. I don't think it's going to be James Hudson. I'm sure we'll talk about that, but it might take a little bit to get where you want to be. But I overall, I believe if the offensive line is healthier this year, that the running game should get back to being highly successful, because it always has been with Kevin Stefanski until they were literally trotting out offensive tackle 5 and 6, right? And the center's injured and Joel Bitonio's injured, and how can you reasonably expect the rushing attack to be good in that situation? So based on the other 3 years that we've seen of Kevin Stefanski and his offense and the running attack that they've organized, even with Callahan gone, I'm more optimistic. And honestly, we just saw a little flash from Deontay Foreman. I think Foreman's going to be a really big piece of this running attack. I love Foreman. I think he is a faster version of like the bruising back that they wanted Kareem Hunt to be. Now, Kareem Hunt was great in short yardage, but you needed a little more than that because Jerome Ford's not that guy per se. And I think Foreman brings that type of punch that the running game needs until Nick Chubb's back. So what's that?
I was going to say, I think you were alluding to this, but I think he has more speed than people think he does.
Yes. And we've seen him. We've seen him rush for almost 1,000 yards. I think Foreman and Ford could be a really nice combination. Remember, Ford only had less receiving touchdowns as a running back than Christian McCaffrey last year, which is a fun little stat. So there's some upside there. And Nyheim Hines isn't healthy yet, but he's shifty as well. He can definitely contribute as well. So I think the running back room overall is probably better than some people might think it is right now. And I'm expecting it. Maybe it's going to take a little bit. In general, offenses in the NFL seem to figure things out over the first 3 weeks. And if they come out able to run the ball, I think this is going to be a very successful season offensively.
I would agree with that.
So, I mean, I've said this before, so I'll start with this. We've been so damn spoiled with Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
That it makes everything else seem like it's bullshit. Like, it's like, well, they're trying. It's like, well, and the thing that always gets looked over with Nick, because you obviously see the burst, you see the power.
Mm-hmm.
It's the vision, though. That dude knows exactly when to hit those cutbacks and get that take every last bit of meat off the bone. That's what he does. So when you don't have running backs that have a hard time with that, which are most running backs, it isn't something that's isolated to Ford. You know, most running backs don't have the vision of Nick Chubb. But Wyatt Teller had an interview, and he said something very interesting to me. And they were talking about how to really keep Micah Parsons at bay. He said, because once you get an obvious passing downs, second and long, third and longs, they like to get exotic, move them around, really create chaos. And the best way to mitigate that chaos is just staying up with the sticks and not being in those situations. Well, what does that mean? That means Jerome Ford's got to get 4 yards on first down.
Yeah.
So and I'm not asking the world, man. 3.5, 4 yards. That's the consistency you need because he can hit those big plays. The problem with Ford is you've talked about it before, Jacob. It's this Isaiah Crowell effect where, like, yeah, you hit a big play, but if the next 5 or 6 runs are 1 yard gains, that didn't do shit for you. You can't keep, getting first downs and staying on the field. So those big plays still need to be there. They need to be part of who Jerome Ford is, but it's the consistency. It's getting every last bit that's there. Even if the line blocks for 3 yards, damn, you get 3.5, fall forward, and just that consistency.
Yeah.
And that's what it needs to be. I felt way better about this when in my mind it was going to be a 3-man rotation with Foreman, Ford, and Hines until Chubb was there. for whatever reason, and I thought Hines was good to go when they signed him because they made it sound like that. When he
Right.
sat down on Cleveland Browns Daily, the day he put ink to paper, it sounded like they were ready to go. For whatever reason, there's something holding him back. And I think he's kind of the missing element because then you have every facet covered.
Mhm.
You know, and it just still doesn't equal Nick Chubb because that's what Nick Chubb's done for us has been generational. 5.2 a carry is up there with Barry Sanders and Jim Brown. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. So we're not going to get 5.2. Can you give me 4.1? Because if you give me 4.1 and can stay up with the sticks and keep Deshaun out of 3rd and 9s, I think we're good. I think you'll be able to just keep moving the chains and stay on the field. So for me, it's just a consistency. Stay out of those nothing burgers. Stay out of those 1-yard losses, those 0-yard gains, man. You got to live in the positive, or if not, you're not going to be able to stay on the field to keep the running game going.
It's you, isn't it, Nick?
Are you talking about the crickets? Yeah. Oh yeah, we got crickets big time.
I was like, I could hear something in the background just a little bit, and I was like, is it me? And like, so I muted it, and I could still hear it, and then you muted, and I didn't hear it anymore, and I'm like, oh, he's got a good old case of the crickets.
They're having a grand old time out there, I think.
This is good. It's good line here from Serge. We need Dean's list at a minimum of 2.5 yards on first. Yeah. I'll say this. I was hard on Ford at times, and I realized because I was looking at this, I was fascinated. He had 1,100 yards last year. Like I think the nothing burgers are the reason because there's just too much of them. But I do agree, Casey, that sometimes he gets punished for not being Nick Chubb when you look at what he did last year. Like, because there was plenty of games where he was good, where he was real good. And also part of it is those negative nothing burgers that kind of pull you away from that because they seem to have happened as much as the good things did. And I mean, I agree. We talked about this at nauseum. When Hines was there, I thought that was a 3-headed beast without Chubb that could almost do what Chubb does by having a guy that can do a little bit of running and catching, having a really good receiver. I know Chubb isn't that, but I'm just saying making a well-rounded room with Hines being that receiver and that power back being Dante Foreman, where you're like, those three together while Chubb is gone will be fine. And then the offensive, like I had some concerns with the running game. I don't know who my left tackle is. And then Hines isn't there. And it's Pierre Strong. And everybody knows what I think of Pierre Strong and what a good gust of wind will do to him. Although I believe he can be a somewhat effective third down pass catcher.
Is it possible that maybe Foreman just proves to be the reliable guy that can get you the 3.5 a carry, and that maybe he ends up taking that early down role?
Well, we're not talking about the elephant in the room, and that is Deuce Staley, because the running back rotation in years past was decided by Stump Mitchell. Mm-hmm. So Deuce Staley has his pulse on it. Now, Deuce Staley's not going to play around with dancing and not hitting the hole. And if he thinks your vision's not on point, he's going to pull you. So we'll find out real quick, is if Jerome starts to stack those 1-0 1-yard gain type, scenarios, you will see Deonta Foreman, because Deuce will not hesitate. They have a really good working relationship. That's when Deonta was at his best in Carolina, when Deuce was his running back coach. So the familiarity and that's what you kind of need, because I think we would agree in 2020, Stump had an excellent pulse on when to change running backs. Over time, that seemed to diminish. He just didn't have a feel for it, and some of that's maybe a little bit of diminishing skills from Hunt. A lot of things go into that. But that's going to be the deciding factor of who gets the totes, is who does Deuce thinks really doing their job to the utmost.
I would not be shocked at all if over the course, maybe not week 1, but over the course of the next few weeks, if Foreman gets more carries, if that plays out, like Casey just said, I do not think that's an outlandish thought at all. I think Ford just becomes the incumbent and gets the first crack at it.
Agreed.
But yeah, no, Casey's spot on. He starts doing a bunch of those 1-2 yard gains, and Staley puts Foreman out there, and Foreman's getting 3 at least, and then getting the 6 and 7. And Foreman can be explosive too. Like if he gets in the open field, he's quicker than you think he is. And if you just try to arm tackle him, he's just going to shrug you off like it's nothing. We saw that in some of his limited action in the preseason. I just feel weird about it. And until I see it, I'm going to feel weird about it. And honestly, I kind of that transitions us into the offensive line, which is where I am with the offensive line. I just feel weird about it. I'm good with Posick. I'm good with Wyatt Teller. And for the most part, I'm good with Dewan because I understand what he is. Great pass blocker. Yeah, as a run blocker. But I think you can work with that. I think you can manage that, especially if Wyatt Teller plays as well as he did last year. Next to Dewan, I think that can help a lot. And if Bitonio comes back and is what he was a couple of years ago and plays better than last year, well, now you're really cooking. Now you're starting to cook. But right now, my left tackle and my left guard, I'm very much more so left tackle than left guard because I still feel a lot better about Joel Bitonio than I do left tackle. And that's not a shot at if Jack Conklin becomes the left tackle or anything like that. I just don't even know who the left tackle is. And I'm okay with it being Jack Conklin. And I've got some thoughts about Jack Conklin, but I don't know that. We don't even know if he'll be active at all. We could wake up tomorrow on Wednesday and it's back to James Hudson. And so help me God. I will be really mad. I won't stop watching, but I'll be really mad. And so, in summary, I just feel uneasy about the offensive line, and it's going to stay there until I see it.
It might. The solution, well, okay, there's a lot of ways this can go, but I think we touched on this a little bit before. The solution might just be David Njoku blocking his ass off. Now, I understand that's not the optimal idea when you've got such a freak of a pass catcher, but David can get in front of people and help protect the quarterback. And we've seen the Browns adapt to these types of situations, especially last year. It wouldn't surprise me at all to see Njoku. Maybe he stays in a little bit longer. Maybe he's, maybe last year having to deal with all of these tackle issues has helped them prepare for this situation better, to where, we thought Jack Conklin and Jedrick Wills, they were just going to come back and we were going to be okay because we're a year removed, and clearly we're not there yet, right? Maybe we will be with Conklin, hopefully, right? But you had to deal with it last year and you did it to some success, right? You got to the playoffs, so maybe you use that this year, and that's just the answer.
I fucking hate the plan at left tackle. I hate it. There was a gross misevaluation by either the surgeon or the team trainers or whoever it was that prognosticated that Jedrick Wills would be back in time to get ramped up and play in the regular season. And the reason I know that is because if they knew that it was going to be this slow of a rollout, then you get Dewan a ton of reps at left tackle in the preseason, because I'm not a fan of James Hudson, but James Hudson is at least a serviceable right tackle.
He is.
Probably below average, but serviceable.
Yep.
Right? He's not that left tackle.
No.
He's not serviceable. You can't do that. So I hate now they're like almost turning to Jack Conklin out of desperation. And I don't like that. I don't like that for Jack Conklin. That ain't fair to him. We'll say all pro Jack Conklin. Well, since the last time Jack Conklin was named all pro, he's had 2 career-altering injuries. And props to him for coming back. But if you're going to send that dude out there to play left tackle against Micah Parsons.
That's what I was going to say, and you're doing it against Micah Parsons.
That's not fair to him. Listen to these words. The last time Jack Conklin took pass reps on the left side in an NFL game, Barack Obama was president. That ain't cool, man. That is not cool to Jack. That's setting him up for failure, and he's probably going to be up to the task. But here's the one caveat. Even if it was Jed, do you feel good about it? No. You're still bringing your tight end over. You're still chipping. You're still kind of doing the things Nick was talking about. David Njoku, I love you. You're probably not going to go for a ton of routes. You're probably going to have to stay in, camp out, and just protect and do what you can, you know. I'll say this. If Jack Conklin does go to the left tackle and he handles Micah by himself 70% of the time and Micah doesn't get more than a sack, I will sew Jack Conklin's gold jacket my fucking self. I feel bad for him. That's a tough assignment, man. Like being done this in 8 years. And we're just getting a taste of our own medicine. This is what every team goes through when they face Myles Garrett. What's your plan? Your plan's not good enough. He's Myles Garrett. Well, they got fucking Micah Parsons. So I hate the plan.
Will you buy someone a Jack Conklin jersey?
If he handles him for 70% of the plays by himself and holds him to one sack, yes.
Well, that's we can group by.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I'll help with that. But yeah, no.
Oh, absolutely.
So you guys want for that to happen.
Well, Micah Parsons was double teamed on 35% of his pass rush reps last year and led the league. So 30% would be a great effort if you only need help 30% of the time. I don't think Stefanski will do that to him. I think that you'll see a ton of David Njoku.
Yeah. At least chip him before he goes out on his route.
And maybe Nick Harris, baby.
That's what I was doing. I tried to slide that
Nick Harris.
Gumbo. Fullback.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about wide receivers real quick so that we can get to the defense.
I just want to ask real quick. Does it concern you guys? Like, there seems to be a little bit of a troubling, like, injury handling method from the Browns, at least in my perspective. I look back at Baker Mayfield with the shoulder, look at like the Deshaun is fine after the Tennessee game, then he doesn't play, and then they put him back out there against Indy, and then he's too hurt to play. And just like this whole Jedrick Wills thing and just the rehab with these guys, I don't know. Maybe more teams struggle with this and timelines are just uncertain, but it kind of seems like the Browns just maybe don't have the greatest handle on these injury timelines or these injury severities. I don't know.
I think the quarterback's a different animal.
That's what
because they kind of have the leeway to call their own shot.
Okay.
Should the Browns give them that? I don't know. I don't agree with it. I think you're as a head coach, you're doing a disservice to the other 52 players on the team by sending a guy out there that you know isn't. I mean, put a percentage to it, whether it's 90 or 88 or whatever. He has to be able to lead your team to victory. You're the quarterback. You're going to touch the ball on every play. But quarterback has that cachet to where it seems that they have the ultimate say-so to whether they go out there or not, which I think there needs to be a better governing body in place to veto that, to make sure you're giving your team the best chance to win. The Jedrick Wills thing, because they've switched a lot of their trainers out this year.
Yeah.
They have a new training staff for the most part. So I don't know if it's really carryover, if this is just a Jedrick Wills issue, whether he's hit us. And they're never, that's the other thing too, is we follow a team who says the least. They're not going to tell you shit. But so if he did have a setback, they're not going to say those words. Well, he had a setback and it's going to be a few extra weeks. They're not going to tell you that. They're just going to say he's working hard and he's close. You're going to hear that statement over and over again ad nauseum. We don't know how close really is. So I don't know if they do have an overall problem. I know they have a problem letting their quarterbacks call their own shot, though.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's a different problem. Let's talk about wide receivers real quick so we can go to the defense, which we really don't have to stick most. I don't think we got to spend a bunch of time on either topics because we're spending a lot of time on concerns we have. And I feel pretty good about the wide receiver room. Especially, I'll lump David Njoku into that and say pass catchers. We'll throw the two groups in there, wide receivers and tight ends. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I've got some concerns with a blocking tight end because we really don't have one. But they're probably going to use Nick Harris for that, so that kind of alleviates some of my concern for that issue because I think they have a solution in place for that. We'll see if it works, but I think they have a solution they at least feel comfortable with. We'll see what happens. But, like, Amari's Amari. I really like Jerry Jeudy in this offense. I really like him in the slot because I like the idea of Elijah Moore, Jerry Jeudy inside of him, and Amari on the other side when we're talking in 3 wide receiver sets and then you have David Njoku on there for those 4 pass catchers. On a lot of your sets are going to be probably those guys, and Cedric Tillman mixed in there. But when I look at like the skill sets, I really like what they have, just in different types of pass catchers, and they've got different types of pass catchers, and they've got different ways to create mismatches. Cedric Tillman, I know Serge just brought up Cedric Tillman. I think Cedric Tillman, I think he needs to take a step, and I think he does, but that is a big kind of if, so I understand that. But you've got some guys like Cedric Tillman and David Njoku where if they can, they're going to get in a lot of they're both going to get a lot of opportunities to create mismatches. We know David can go and do it. We got to see Tillman do it, but some similar stuff there. Amari's going to get his, and Jerry Jeudy is, we finally have a wide receiver who can create after the catch. Hallelujah, because that's where I am. So I just think lots of different body types, lots of different skill sets and ways they attack defenses. So as a whole, I feel really comfortable with that group.
This is the best I've felt about this wide receiver room since the late 80s.
Oof, I didn't know you were going to go that far back, but okay.
Man, since you had Slaughter, Tillman, and Brennan.
Okay.
Yeah. And just to piggyback, I'm not going to take a long time, but just what you said. Like they have every different type. They got role specific guys. But what's the highlight for me is you got all guys who can separate. If you just looked at Moore, Tillman, Jeudy, Cooper, those guys all can separate. And Jeudy can really do damage. So can Coop to a degree, man. Coop, he's not a burner, but he's still a great athlete.
He's a 4-4 guy.
He can put a guy in a blender. You know what I mean? To where they're turning around trying to find him, you know. But like Jeudy has real dynamic ability with the ball in his hands. And he has inside-outside versatility, and I hope they use him that way because I really think you could do some damage in the slot, and then when you get favorable matchups, throw him on the outside. So I like the mix. I like the young guys too. You know, I like Thrash. Like I don't know what kind of role he can have, but if you can just sprinkle him in, get him a few reps a game, I like the overall makeup of the wide receiver room. And I hope at the end of the season, I'm praising Chad O'Shea. That's my hope. I want to see steps out of these guys. I want to see the younger guys get better. Like you said, Tillman take a step. I think Thrash can. I think David Bell's a great possession receiver. Then you add that to what Cooper and Jeudy can do, and I think you feel pretty good about it.
It's the victory laps Pete Smith will take on you with Chad O'Shea. I just love it. I love it whenever, like, we'll just be talking and he'll just slide one in there and be like, yeah, look at what Chad O'Shea did today, Casey.
Yeah, victory laps in the preseason or something, aren't they?
I don't care. It's still funny. I just wanted to point out a couple comments from Pat. Pat thinks he can hold him to 1 sack. Thinks that Conklin, he said he thinks he can hold him to 1 sack. He also says not only is Jerry Jeudy the best wide receiver, that's very fun to say. It is very fun to say. It's kind of difficult to say sometimes. Like Jerry Jeudy, it's a lot of ease in there.
For some reason, the names Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy don't have the same sex appeal as Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham. But I would argue that if the pass game is as good as we think it can be, they can also be dual 1,000-yard wide receivers. I think that is in the upper end of I understand it's the upper end of outcomes, but it just speaks to how good I feel about it. And Cedric Tillman, man, that's the big one for Chad O'Shea. You guys both mentioned Chad O'Shea. Like, show me you can develop Cedric Tillman coming from a very basic Tennessee offense to this guy is our size advantage in the wide receiver room and this big red zone threat. I feel really good about it. And when Elijah Moore is your wide receiver 4, I think that's a good situation. And I really liked what we saw from Jamari Thrash. I get it, right? He's got a long way to go. But my point is, I can remember times when we couldn't even have a wide receiver over 6 feet tall, right? And now I've got this room just stacked with potential. I'm pretty thrilled about it. So it's time to go out. It could be a really sexy passing offense. It could be like I loved Rashard Higgins, and it's like that dude does not. No offense, I love Rashard Higgins. He does not hold a candle to like the top 3 or maybe 4 wide receivers in this room right now, and I saw him be pretty damn good in Cleveland.
There's
Well,
a
I'll say this,
receiver
what did
on the
Higgins-
practice squad that's better than Rashard Higgins.
Well,
I mean, Higgins, look what he did after he left Cleveland.
yeah.
But no, that's to talk about the evolution of this roster.
Right.
Because you've got a guy that was a major contributor on a playoff team that probably isn't a practice squad player on this team.
That's crazy.
He might
That's
be
crazy.
a practice squad guy,
Maybe.
but he's not an active roster guy. He would not have beat out any of the 6
No.
that made the roster this time. Defense. We want to talk about the defense? Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
they're really good.
So I've heard.
They're gonna be really good. How do we break this up? All really good. If you want to, let's do defensive line. This pass rush, I was writing something like I was writing a season prediction up, and the thing that I came to about the pass rush was you traded Jordan Elliott for Quentin Jefferson. That's an upgrade. That's an upgrade. That's a significant upgrade from Jordan Elliott to Quentin Jefferson. Did I say Quentin Jefferson the first time?
You did.
Okay.
He did.
I'm like, say the wrong name because I do that all the time. You add that in. We don't know what's going on with the Michael Hall situation, but you get Mo Hurst. I've got some concerns a little bit about some of the run defense stuff. I'm glad Dalvin was back at practice because that alleviates some of those concerns. But in terms of just pass rush, I don't know that there's a pass rush deeper and better than what the Browns are going to field this year. And I don't think they're going to be garbage against the run because I think that they can be good enough against the run. And if the offense is good, if you think you're going to just run up the middle at us and win the game, and if you do that all day and that's all you're going to do, go ahead and try.
Well, we're not talking about him, but like we're talking about the middle of the field. It's where you go get a Jordan Hicks, someone who can stop. Stop where you're not getting past that line of defense. The thing that I'm most interested in is to see how Schwartz utilizes his rotation this year.
Yeah,
because you have so many playable pieces. It's about keeping those dudes fresh, and especially your frontline guys, so that at the end of games, when it's time to go hunt, if you go up 10 points in the fourth quarter, to really let guys go after it, And I mean, we could do a whole show talking about Myles Garrett.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a generational talent. He's 1 or 2 seasons away from he could retire and be just that.
Mm-hmm.
It's he's starting to. If he gets 12 sacks this year, he'll be the youngest player to reach 100. Like that's awesome.
amazing.
You know what I mean? He'll also, if he gets more than 11 and a half. So if he gets 12, he'll also join a list of Lawrence Taylor for guys who had 12 sacks for 6 seasons straight. Those are, when you start getting on Lawrence Taylor and Reggie White's list, like that show you're an all-timer. That's just what that shows you. But it's not just him. He's not a one-man band. He used to be. But when you have Zadarius Smith, who was over there in the top 5 in pressures last year, now he didn't have the sack numbers, but that's a variance thing. I think you'll see an uptick in sacks, even if he has less pressures. Okoronkwo, I would be surprised if he has 8 sacks this year. I think that's a realistic outcome for your third edge rusher. That's insanity.
Yeah,
Alex Wright really came on strong. And then you got what you did, the push that you get from the interior. I will be interested to know because I know Shelby missed practice 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I thought he came back. Oh, no.
The last time I saw a practice list, he wasn't on it. So maybe that was Monday and he came back, it would have been Monday. Either way, you want these guys to be as healthy as possible, but you have enough depth of pass rush.
Yes.
Jacob's point's valid. If you were to question something about this defensive line, is the interior run defense. That's what you could question. Dalvin being out there helps a great deal. We don't know what the Michael Hall situation is going to be, but you feel good about Mo Hurst. Quentin Jefferson, Shelby. You have enough guys to just throw people at him in waves. So this defensive line could be the best defensive line in professional football. They just have to live up to the hype now.
I think I look at it this way. I say, what defensive linemen are the Browns going to put out on the field that isn't a threat to rush the passer? And I don't have a name I can give you. That is...
No, I don't either. I tried to come up with one.
That's unfathomable luxury. Unfathomable.
I still wish they would sign a nose tackle, though.
Right. No, I get that. Well, maybe Juwan Briggs can develop into a guy that can really be. I know that's a longer term solution. I get it, but maybe.
Boy, I was pumped they got him on the practice squad.
Right. I was thrilled that he ended up back on the practice squad.
They got. There's one in next year's draft. They big son bitch.
I just. So that's how I look at it, right? And you're not even. We don't even know the Michael Hall stuff. You guys have both touched on that. But even without him, I look at it top to bottom, and I just say, like, this is a group that you don't have to send any bit of extra, and you should very realistically be able to put pressure on the quarterback whenever you line up. And that I've seen that formula work for even rattle the greats like Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. When you can put pressure on with four guys, you give your defense so many options because you just have so many guys there, right? To deal with anything an offense wants to throw at you. And that's what I expect this defensive line to be. And that is why I think they're very reasonably could be the best defense in the NFL.
And think about this. You talk about what luxury it is to get pressure with four. We saw that when Tampa Bay beat Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl. That was a big part of what they were able to do. They were able to get pressure. And so they were able to drop 7 guys into coverage very consistently because they were getting pressure with 4. If this secondary and the cover linebackers they have can consistently have 7 people in coverage, oh boy, do I like their chances because of how talented they are in the secondary. And I think JOK is above average as a kind of, especially I love JOK covering running backs, like swing passes, run it and dump offs out out of the backfield to the running back in the open field because of his closing speed and stuff. And I think Jordan Hicks is better than Anthony Walker in every facet, in my opinion. And that's not a knock at Anthony Walker. I just think Jordan Hicks is a better football player. But if I'm never like blitzing these guys and I've got all these 3 corners and these safeties, yeah, I feel good about this unit, man. Like Martin Emerson's up here. He's starting to get some buzz. Finally, they're finally putting some respect on Martin Emerson's name. But, man, that is a number 1 corner, and he is your second or third, depending on how you look at it. I think he's your second. But I think Greg's really not that far behind him. And I know it's a little different because he plays in the slot and that sort of thing. But Denzel is a top 10 corner. I would be willing to say that Martin Emerson can get himself in the top 10 range by the end of this year. Top 10, top 15 corners in the NFL by the end of the year. I think that's where Emerson lands.
I think you're underselling it.
Maybe so.
His numbers, he should have been an All-Pro last year. His numbers were better than guys who made All-Pro. He turns in the same season. It's going to be undeniable, man.
And he's not even considered your number 1. He's not.
Yeah. Which means you see more. He sees more passes. Because they're not going at Denzel, so he's seeing an opportunity and still holding quarterbacks to the lowest completion percentage in the league, giving up 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That's
nuts.
He didn't even have to play better than he did last year. He just needs to do the same, and I think the recognition comes
because then there's some consistency.
Right.
Oh, he did it again.
Not a fluke.
And if the Browns defense does it again, all of a sudden you're like,
And he's
oh my God,
leader.
this is real now.
Yeah. Dude, I think this group is really freaking good. Like, they did some historical stuff. And I know that at times they beat up on some bad quarterbacks. Everybody beats up on bad quarterbacks.
Yeah.
How many years have I seen the Browns not beat up on bad quarterbacks? Well, now they're beating up on bad quarterbacks, and they can play good ones too. If they can add these change-ups that Schwartz has talked about, Jesus. If they can disguise some coverages and do some things in the back end so that, play a little bit better in zone coverage.
I would argue to you that Grant Delpit was playing his best football before he got injured, and would also argue to you that before he was dealing with a season-long injury, Juan Thornhill was a damn good piece for the Chiefs, and I have no reason to think that he suddenly is washed or done. Like that safety room is a deep one too. It really is. You look at Rodney McLeod played well for them before they lost him for the season, right? And then you got Ronnie Hickman, who had some ups and downs, but there were some highs there. That's an undrafted free agent. He's your fourth guy in that room. Oh, baby. And we didn't even talk like you got some lottery tickets too. Like Devin Bush is a lottery ticket to me. I'm excited about that. I'm not sure what Diabate or Tony Fields is going to be this year. That's fun. And you're looking at it, and you said yourself, Hicks is an upgrade from Walker. Walker was really good for them when he was healthy. Not really good, but he was good. And JOK took a step forward last year. You just look at the defense top to bottom, and you're like, what? Where? What?
Do you know what you didn't even mention? A guy that could be interesting in blitzing situations. Nathaniel Watson.
Yeah.
Like, you got Nathaniel Watson where if you're going to blitz, I would love to blitz him and Diabate. Those dudes can stand up rush. Could you imagine a third down, fourth down, whatever you want, third and long, fourth and long, and you have in front of you, let's say, Myles Garrett. I'm going to say this. Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith, Mo Hurst, Ogbo Okoronkwo, and then put Nathaniel Watson or Mamu Diabate stand up on one of those sides.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you put him on the side that has Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith next to him?
Yeah. That's just the fun shit to think that what Schwartz will have at his disposal. Like, how creative can you be with the personnel that you have?
Because you got the personnel to be creative.
Didn't even talk about Alex Wright. Not one mention.
Yeah, I know. I was going to bring up Alex Wright, but then I remembered I hadn't brought up Ogbo Okoronkwo yet. So I was like, I got to put him out there.
Well, let's talk about the one facet of the defense that we don't know.
Okay.
We talked about Anthony Walker, Hicks being a physical upgrade from Anthony Walker, but will he be the leadership upgrade? Because that was what Walker brought to the table, in my opinion, was leadership. And the players gravitated towards him. They loved him. He was your green dot.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that flow look like from the play coming in to communication to getting everybody lined up in the proper spots? That's the only thing you have to have time on task, live bullets. And we really didn't get to see that in the preseason. So we're going to get to see that opening week. It'll be all new. But if he can just fulfill that role, you'd be that for you, which I want JOK to eventually be that guy.
What I was going to say, yeah.
I think but I mean, it'll be telling to see if he gets the green dot. Like, we went years where the safety had the green dot, like they needed, and in my opinion, it needs to be a linebacker. Like, I think that's just to be able to see everything around you and just coordinate everything. So that's the one unknown factor is I don't know if they have that guy in their locker room.
I hope JOK can be that guy. But I do like Rodney McLeod, a little bit of what he can bring in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's nice. I think you really need JOK to do that this
because you need it to be a guy who never leaves the field.
Yeah, and I don't want
JOK to be.
Yes, that's what he has to do this year. That is what's next. Take 100% of the snaps and be that leader. Even if he's not necessarily the green dot, but he's still at 100%. I want him at 100%, and then I think that immediately leads, like you said, to the green dot because he's not leaving the field.
Right.
We didn't even get to prop bets.
Well, that is why we have a Friday show.
Yeah,
Or we should do prop bets. Do you want to do prop bets?
we can each do a prop bet. Let's do one.
Okay, I'm in.
Do we want to do that?
I'm in.
You got them ready. Let's fire them up.
I got one.
You got to have all three. We're not bringing our own till next week.
Well, I'm
Until
bringing
Friday.
one.
He's
I got
bringing
one.
one.
You just said you told me Friday in the pre-show. What are you lying to me? You said you guys each bring one next.
I
on
just
Friday.
looked it up real quick.
Oh yeah, you don't have to bring one right now, but I already have one.
Okay.
He has one.
We'll bring more on Friday.
Yeah, just bring more on Friday. This is what I got. FanDuel right now, over under season yardage for David Njoku is 700.5. Give me the over.
That doesn't even really need explanation.
Give me the over 8.5 win total that they have right now too.
Right. Fanatics right now. Amari Cooper set a career high with 1,250 yards. Somehow his receiving total has gone down from last year. It was 950, if memory serves, because I won that bet last year. It's 925 now. I'm taking the over. Boom. How am I not gonna? Amari Cooper's your hallmark receiver. He shows no signs of slowing down. Give me the over. Easy peasy. Actually bet on that.
Someone better filibuster. I was sandbagged and was told I didn't need one tonight. I got to get one.
I got another one. Okay. I might be a sucker. Okay. So ESPN Bet does this thing where guys that are like recently in the news, they'll give prop bets to, and this is like all sports, right? So when the Browns traded for Jerry Jeudy, they put out a prop bet for his season-long receiving total. And if memory serves, because I made this bet a long time ago, if memory serves, it was 700 yards. Also took the over there. That feels he's hit 900 before. I don't know how many receiving yards he had last year, but I think the one I feel most strongly about, is I want to go right back to you, Jacob, is the 8.5 win total. That just feels like nonsense to me. Give me I'm taking the over on 8.5 all day. It's a winning record. Are the Browns going to have a winning record? Yes.
Not only will they have a winning record, they're going to win the division.
Oh,
And to win the division is plus 2,000.
really? Plus 2,000? Okay.
Let's go ahead and put some money on that. Let's go ahead and get that one up right now. I did not know that.
That is.
Nick, will you see us out while I place this bet?
Yes. With that being said, we are back Friday for Browns Cowboys preview, because this weekend we have Cleveland Browns football. Doesn't feel real. So just a couple reminders. We're giving away a Browns jersey at 1,000 subscribers, and we love you. If you made it this far, we're an hour and 8 minutes in. Some of you definitely listened last week, so please click that subscribe button. It means a ton to us. Secondly, we are sponsored by Homage. I've got NBA Jam today because Cavs season's coming. We got Tecmo Bowl over there. We're going to be dropping some links. We're going to be doing some fun stuff. If you haven't checked them out, please do. Lastly, we love you. This has been a season preview of the Barking Browns show, with more to come on Friday, on the almost the eve of Browns football. 5 sleeps. Nick, it's Jacob, that's Casey. Go Browns.
Browns.